They were all drawn to the keep. The soldiers who brought death. The father and daughter fighting for life. The people who have always feared it. And the one man who knows its secret. Tonight, they will all face the evil. On this episode of The Devil's Workshop, it's Michael Mann's The Keep. Hello and welcome to the Devil's Workshop podcast. I am your host, Nick Oliver.
And I am your host, Katy Oliver.
And we have yet another horror film from an acclaimed director, which is an embarrassment to that director that he would probably rather not talk about.
Well, before we get into that, can I ask you, have you caught your breath yet from reading that long, long tagline?
Thank you. Thank you for calling attention to my struggle. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I'm okay now. I'm ready to proceed.
Drink some water if you need to.
I'll get some juice.
Yeah, some Pedialyte. Yeah, but okay, to come back to what you were saying, yes, interesting to be talking about a Michael Mann movie on this podcast.
Yeah. So, I had never seen this movie, nor had you.
Nor I, yes.
Yeah, so, but I've seen quite a lot of Michael Mann's work, not everything. But he's the more I see, the more I like him.
Same here. Yeah. I think I've only seen a small handful. I suspect you've seen more than me. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen are Heat, Manhunter, and this one now. Are there others that we've seen together?
Yeah, so when I was a little boy, that was so I was born in 1986, and in 1992, The Last of the Mohicans came out.
Yeah, of course.
My mother loved that movie. And I eventually grew to love that movie too. But that's one of the first movies I can remember seeing advertised like crazy. They were really pushing that. And right around that same time that was being aired on satellite, or in cable, was when we got a satellite dish. So they were really pushing that on HBO at the time. So that was a big movie when I was really, really young. So I really like that movie. Heat is everybody loves. Collateral is really great. Manhunter, you and I watched together.
I love Manhunter.
Manhunter is great. So that's the first adaptation of the Hannibal Lecter character
mythos.
Right.
Of the novel Red Dragon.
Right. But not played by Anthony Hopkins.
No. Played by
Brian Cox.
Brian, thank you. I could remember his last name, not his first name. Good God. Sorry, what's the matter with me today? And I really like that performance too.
Also really great.
Manhunter, not a movie we'll be covering on this podcast.
Indeed, yeah. Manhunter's great.
Yeah. And as you have said, the more Michael Mann films I watch, the more I'm into him. But I do find it interesting to note, like, before the two of us got together 1 billion years ago, I'd never seen a Michael Mann movie before.
Yeah, he's kind of an interesting guy because he is, like, people like a lot of his individual movies, but as a director, he doesn't quite have the reputation. People don't give him the credit the way that maybe because he's got some weird movies in his catalog, like this one, like The Keep. I mean, I think he could be in the conversation with a great. I mean, I'm not going to say he's as good as Scorsese or something, but he's an easy comparison to make because there's crime movies, there's a lot of that
and
stuff.
And he's got a clear vision and a clear voice. I mean, if you put all of his movies side by side, I think they form a continuity of style,
Sure.
And I don't know, Michael Mann's got a real talent for creating just a really moody movie, which I love. I really respond to that. So, I feel like both a sense of pleasure and a slight bit of regret to address one of his movies on this podcast.
Oh, what are you going to do?
Indeed.
Probably not his fault.
I doubt it. I would highly doubt it.
So this is a movie that was cut down big time, somewhat famously.
Like chop shop style.
Yeah. So I've forgotten what the actual runtime on this is. I think it's close to 90 minutes.
Is? Yeah.
But the original cut of the movie is like 3 hours long.
Yeah. I would give my left nostril to see the original cut of this movie.
Well, that's my favorite of your nostrils.
Oh, well, then I'll get my right nostril.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. Yeah, I think that's one of those things that'll probably never happen because it's just not big enough. Like, people don't really care about it in the way that you'll have big fan campaigns for movies that are cut down. And there's lots of examples of that throughout film history, cult film history,
the Snyder
genre
cut, famously.
Yeah, that's a big recent one. Yeah,
I mean, and maybe this podcast episode is going to be the thing that sparks fan.
Yeah, that's
interest.
Probably what it's. Yeah, that probably is going to happen.
I think we can safely pat ourselves on the backs for that in
sure.
advance. But can I tell you something?
Sure.
I think I love this movie.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this movie in spite of its very obvious flaws. This is a really flawed movie.
Yes,
hence
is.
why it's here, right?
But you can see, I mean, it's like looking at like the Venus de Milo or something, where it's like, oh, you can tell she used to have arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, or when you look at the Sphinx, it's like, no, there used to be a nose there.
Right.
And it probably looked sick as hell.
Sure.
But
it's like the pyramids used to have, I think they were gold plated.
Yeah, there's like a sheath
There's
on them.
something on it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can tell that this has been hacked to pieces.
Yeah.
But I still found myself quite moved by it. I found myself invested in it deeply. Again, really responding to the moody quality of the production.
Mm-hmm.
It has a couple of star moments, a couple of great performances. Like, I really enjoyed my time with this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this is sort of the best sort of flawed cult movie, like this kind of thing where there's so much, there's a good idea there, the premise is interesting, and you have a cast of people who either at this time were really well known, or would go on to be really well known in some cases,
and they're all bringing it.
Yeah.
And you can see sort of the shape of what could have been, or what once was in this case. I mean, I'm assuming I'm just going to assume that the 3-hour cut was probably vastly superior. And you can have a shitty 3-hour movie just as easily as you can have a shitty 90-minute movie. But I trust in Michael Mann's skill and the cast's collective skill. I suspect this was a much stronger thing in its first iteration.
Right. We'll never know. Well, no, we will. We'll know.
We'll know.
Yeah,
we'll know. Yeah.
Perhaps I should, this might be a good thing for us to do in the future. Should I read the brief plot summary off of Letterboxd?
Oh, yeah.
For those
who
have not seen The Keep, which is probably almost everybody.
Yeah. Guys, watch The Keep.
Watch The Keep. Oh, I forgot to look and see where
she's streaming.
You can. I seem to recall it not being basically anywhere. Yeah, The Keep. Yeah, you have to rent that one, folks. It's not available for streaming anywhere.
You mean it's not even on Tubi?
It's not on Tubi with all the trash.
It's not on Boobo. It's not on Feep Fop. It's not on Blip Blap.
Those are getting considerably lower effort as you move along.
Bluebo,
I was like, that's plausible.
Like, is it real?
Bleep Blop. No, I don't. I'm not. I'm not giving Bleep Blop $14.99 a month plus tax.
Believe it or not, they have a beautifully curated selection of Czechoslovakian auteur film.
Oh, right. Great.
I love Bleep Blop for that.
So The Keep. For those who do not know about The Keep, set during World War II, a German army garrison is sent to guard a mountain pass in a village in Romania's Carpathian mountains and sets up barracks in an ancient stone fortress. Two of the soldiers unwittingly release a mysterious entity that kills or corrupts those within its influence, drawing the attention of a Gestapo commander, a Jewish scholar, and a mysterious traveler. So that is The Keep. We are dealing with a period movie. We're dealing with Nazis.
Yes.
So we're in the middle of World War II.
Is this the first appearance of Nazis on this podcast?
Let me look at the list of what we've done.
Because I feel like
We flirted with it.
in The Frighteners, he's got...
yeah, he has the swastika tattooed on
but
his
that's more like
hands.
Manson cult
Cherry
stuff.
Falls, no. Body Snatchers, no. Cure for Wellness, there's some implied
There's Nazi energy.
eugenics
Yeah.
stuff to that, but
Yeah.
not Nazis specifically. Night of the Comet, no. Resident Evil, no. Hannibal? Isn't
I think there's
some Nazi stuff in the book?
There's definitely Nazi stuff in his, like, in the prequel.
In his background, yeah.
But I don't
Like,
think it's not in the
the
movie,
character's
though.
background, but not in that. So yeah, the first appearance of Nazis.
Wow, I can't imagine it'll be the last.
I expect we'll probably see Nazis show up in this podcast again. Yeah. There is one person who probably won't be showing up on this podcast again.
Let me guess, Sir Ian McKellen.
Sir Ian, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't expect we'll see him
Yeah.
again.
Seriously, listeners, watch The Keep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Young Ian McKellen.
Sir Ian.
Well, he's not
Sir
that
Ian.
young, but
Younger than any of us is probably used to seeing him.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, this is not the youngest Sir Ian that I've ever seen. I saw him in a production of The Scarlet Pimpernel in like the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a babe in that.
There's a late 70s Macbeth that's really famous. That's him and Judi Dench, who's
Of course.
Lady Macbeth.
Sure.
That was recorded. That's late 70s. So, yeah, younger in that as well.
Yeah.
So I too, have seen that. Not that I'm a giant Shakespeare freak or anything, but that's one of those somewhat legendary performances that you...
we get it. You're so cultured.
That's right.
I'm just kidding.
That's me. You want to get into it?
Let's get into it. Okay, let's just get into it.
All right, we'll be right back with a workshop. All right, you want to talk about what's working?
Yes. Performances.
Sure.
This is what we do now.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can always like to lead with those because they're the weirdest thing. They need to be acknowledged, but they're the hardest thing to change in a way.
Yeah, but it's, how do you talk about a film without talking about actors and
Yeah,
actresses?
so we can deal with those, I think, briefly.
I'm not sure if there's like a single standout performance in this to me. I just feel like this whole cast is firing on all cylinders.
I like everybody except for one person.
Oh, who?
Well, I gotta save that for what's not working section.
True. Yeah. Maybe the standout for me is and forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but Jürgen Prochnow.
Prochnow is what I looked it up.
Oh, did you? Okay, I assumed.
I've since forgotten. I think it's it's Jürgen, definitely Jürgen Prochnow.
Okay, I assumed it would be
think,
Nov given his Germanic heritage, but I don't. I will trust you.
No, damn it! Hold on. We're gonna put things on pause, dear listener. We're gonna come back. We're gonna do a live check and see if it's Jürgen Prochnow. And we're back, dear listener. We were both wrong.
Yeah.
It's Jürgen Prochnow.
Prochnow.
Right, whatever.
Look, I did take German.
Yes. Well, I didn't.
Well, you may be in trouble because you're going to be pronouncing a lot of German words and names in this episode. So I regret to inform you that this will come back to haunt us.
I have a big problem on my hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Oh, sorry, I never finished my thought.
Right.
I was going to say that Mr. Jurgen. I really like his performance in
Yeah,
this.
he's great. So he got famous a year or two before this for a movie called Das Boot. And he plays a German U-boat commander in that. He may have been famous in Germany prior to that, but he became famous internationally for that. And he did some English language film work. He got a whole English language career that sort of sprung from that movie. That movie's in German. But yeah, he's really great.
Yeah, he has a kind of like elegant presence that I wouldn't necessarily expect given the kind of movie that it is. But then again, given that it's a Michael Mann movie, maybe I would expect that. I don't know.
Yeah, he has an interesting energy to him because there's a vulnerability to him that you don't necessarily think of when it comes to... I mean, he's a Nazi character, right? I mean, as you come to learn throughout the movie, the character he plays is not a true believer.
Yes.
So you do discover that as you move along, but like you don't necessarily think of Germans as being that generally.
Sure.
There's a sensitivity to him that he brings, while he's also like, you buy him completely as a stern military leader.
Yes,
well.
who is also in some kind of crucial ways weak. His sort of internal conflict. He's an interesting person to watch on screen.
Yeah.
But he also to me reads as very self-possessed. I just really like his vibe as an actor.
Yeah, you root for him as a character because of the actor,
which is an incredible feat given that
he's a Nazi.
Yeah, and he's again kind of a salary man more than like he's not drunk the Kool-Aid or anything, but he's still doing it.
Right.
So, he's a complicated figure, but he brings a lot of humanity to that role. There are other performances I might want to call out, but like that one is probably the biggest success for me.
Sure.
But I like everyone in this.
Yeah. Ian McKellen, great.
Yeah.
Gabriel Byrne.
I like Scott Glenn.
Young Gabriel Byrne.
Young Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, are you even like, I don't know. I
didn't recognize him at first.
I did, but I was like, I didn't realize you were that old, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Like that you'd been on the scene for that long.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh gosh. No one feels out of place here to me. And it seems like they are feeding off of one another's energy really well too. Like, because you can have a movie that's like, well, that's a good performance and that's a good performance, but you two seem to be on different wavelengths or something. So yeah, any performances you want to highlight?
No, my thoughts are pretty similar to yours. And so long as we're on the topic of things that are slightly outside of the scope of the podcast, we can also we should make a brief mention. Music, outstanding. Tangerine Dream. So largely like a synthy, like out of time sort of score with the setting and
a little bit of like Baroque synth almost.
Right. Yeah.
Progressive, real moody
wavy,
too.
Yeah. Though it does go into orchestral and choral territory occasionally, but yeah, obviously, like with the synthesizers, they weren't really using those in 1942 or whatever this movie was. Yeah.
Oh,
well, maybe they were. Shit, I don't know, but not in this way, at least. But that's great. Visuals outstanding. If you've ever seen anything of Michael Mann's work, it looks great.
I loved the sets in this. Like all the places feel very placey. If that makes
it feels
any
real.
Sense. It feels heavy. It feels old. Feels dingy in all the ways that it needs to feel dingy or Spartan or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
the remote village in Romania somewhere. It does feel like that isolated pocket of the mountains somewhere. You buy all of that for sure.
Yeah. And I think the interior of the keep, especially like that sort of vast inner chamber where our antagonist is imprisoned, feels so alien and interesting.
Yeah.
Like the look of this movie is really successful for me. And in fact, I really like the way a lot of Michael Mann movies look. I mean, I just like a lot of stuff about his sort of signature style.
Right.
Yeah, but it, like it has a weirdly cohesive artistic effect even as the movie has significant problems, which is so interesting, because if you played me a trailer of this movie, I'd be like, God, that movie rocks, like you wouldn't know that it kind of is troubled by what was done to
production problems or whatever.
Yeah. What else should we talk about? I mean, there's a lot that I want to talk about.
Yeah, so I have something I'd like to say.
Oh, yeah.
So I love movies that do this. I'm struggling to think of an example that would be that would go along with this, but another example of a movie that does the same thing. But I do think this is very neat when a movie does this. I like movies that send us being the audience, on the same arc as the characters undergo. I think that's interesting because you sort of go along with them. So we, at least for a time, actually root for Molasar, which is the name of the villainous monster.
Radu Molasar.
Yeah. Radu, I don't think they don't ever identify him as that. That's his name in the book. So
I just think it sounds cool.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, Molasar, yeah. I'm not sure they actually name him at all in the movie. I think he's just named in the credits, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So Molasar is the name of the creature that's going around the keep killing Nazis.
The thing that's been sealed inside.
The Nazi soldiers are trying to loot the keep of what they think is an expensive, they think it's a silver thing. So they try and steal it away. The thing gets out and starts killing Nazis. And we don't really get a sense of the creature, what it looks like. You don't really get anything of it for a while until it steps in and stops some Nazis from raping a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And destroys them.
And
carries her back to safety.
Right. To her father, and her father's Ian McKellen. So, like, everything that you get from Molasar up to this point is, okay, so this guy is killing Nazis. And he stops a violent sexual act from progressing, returns her to safety. He does all these things. So
yeah, he reads initially as kind of an avenging angel.
Yeah, and he, especially when you first get that shot of him, the music that's being played is choral. So there's a lot of there's a churchy quality to it. Like if an angel were to have descended from heaven at the same time in the movie, like the music could have worked.
It
doubles, what I mean? It would have been the same thing. Kuza, Ian McKellen's character, wants to unleash Molasar because he wants Molasar to kill the Nazis and to kill Hitler. Which, that sounds like a pretty good thing, right? To him, and of course to us. We're like, yeah, Hitler's pretty bad. We all agree on that. So you still have, I mean, you still know kind of where you're gonna feel about this because he's still like visibly a horror movie villain. Like you bought a ticket to see a horror movie, you kind of know like he's the villain of the piece.
But there's like, you're confronted with the question, like, well, can I ally myself with this evil being if it's killing evil people? And like that's a real moral dilemma.
Right.
I mean, and especially like this movie, from what I recall, is positioned in a moment in time, like right as the concentration camps are gearing up, but before there's a sort of widespread knowledge of like their purpose.
I don't know about all of that necessarily, just because I don't have a blow by blow of like who knew what and when.
That's how the movie
don't have that
presents
kind of
it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not.
I just don't know. I don't know that. But this was at the time, like when this movie is taking place, it's at the peak of German success, basically. So this is, I think it's 42, but the Germans are now invading Russia or the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Through Romania.
Yeah, so the Germans are doing very well. I don't think the U.S. had entered the war at this point. Like they're just doing yeah. So if you're a Jew or any other group that's being victimized by Germany at that time, if you're a member of a state that's been conquered by Germany, like to you, this is your lowest moment. Yeah. So so when you're this thing that's clearly kind of monstrous shows up and it's like, I'm gonna kill these Germans, but I need you to help me. And Kuza, Ian McKellen's character again, is like, yeah, I'll help you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and
sure.
And, it's worth noting, in case the listeners haven't seen the movie, like Kuza and his daughter Ava, like they are Jews, and they have been literally scooped out of a concentration camp to come to the keep. So they only continue to live by just sheer chance.
Yeah, because
at this point,
Kuza had studied the keep academically because he was a scholar,
and he was local to the area as well.
Right, so he grew up in the village outside of the keep. So he has knowledge that nobody else possesses. So as the entity comes around and starts killing people, it leaves a message on the wall in a dead language. So they rope him in, like, who would know how to read this? Who's leaving these messages? Like, well, I know one guy. Unfortunately, thrown in a concentration camp, which the Nazis are like, oh, well, at least I know where he is. I'll go get him. I'll be back. The concentration camps, the death camps, as they call them in the movies, they're important to this movie for sure.
Yeah.
And they drive the motivation.
Yeah, well, and the Kuza character, like his motivations are totally believable in that instance, because it's like he was on death's doorstep. Oh, and we forgot to mention, not only does Molazar rescue his daughter from being sexually assaulted and promise to kill the Nazis, he literally heals Kuza's debilitating illness.
Yeah.
Just like with a touch.
I'd forgotten now what the illness is. He has it's a real thing. I did look it up briefly, but he has a debilitating autoimmune disorder, basically.
That
so he's
will
confined
kill
to a
him
wheelchair.
very young.
Yeah, he's gonna die.
Because he's in his 40s or something,
right.
But he looks 60 or 70.
And of course, it's an autoimmune disorder in 1942, and he's in a concentration camp. Like, this guy he's
not doing great.
Yeah, he's screwed.
Yeah, so he's restored to vitality. His daughter is delivered to him from harm, and his enemies are being destroyed.
Right.
So you really, it's like I think a lot of us would be pretty tempted by the offer.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's that, like, we as the audience members, you're rooting for him. Like, yeah, I want to see this guy kill Nazis.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, you're totally with that.
All of history and all of cinema has trained us to accept that,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a smart choice on the part of the movie makers and I suppose the original author of the book.
Right. But as the movie then moves on to say, oh, maybe this isn't such a good thing, it forces you to confront your opinions on it as well, because you've just made the same compromise that the character did. So I think that's clever.
Yeah.
I like movies like that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of other movies that do that.
The only thing that I could think of is The Mist.
Oh.
Because at the end, the ending of The Mist. Of course, at the ending of The Mist, like, yeah, well, that's what you do in that situation. And then, of course, you're screwed if you do what they did.
Yeah.
No spoilers for The Mist. Watch The Mist. Good movie.
Ugh. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes here. Oh, this is a general love for me as well. I love a movie, or really anything, that's about just a weird place that has weird effects on the people who wander inside of it. So, like, probably the premier, like, cinema example of this would be Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. One of my favorite movies of all time. Just gorgeous, ponderous, mysterious, incredible. But I also like, like Annihilation and anything where there's kind of like a zone that defies reality. And in this case, it's pretty like attributable to Molasar's presence in the keep. But I love how it's just like once you step inside of the zone, the place, the whatever, the logic of the real world or the outside world becomes suspended and you start living by a new set of rules. Just as a trope, I love that. There's something so like crazy satisfying to me about a movie that explores an alien environment slowly and deliberately. So just as like I just love the trope that this uses, You gotta watch Stalker, man. You really gotta watch that.
Oh, it sounds boring.
No, it's so good. Don't say that. Oh my God, you're gonna have so many film bros like chewing you out.
I don't care. I'm gonna go watch Police Academy 2.
I'm gonna watch Air Bud.
I don't give a fuck.
Wait, I tried to think of like the most creatively bankrupt movie I could imagine. What would that be?
Police Academy 4.
But not
Academy. You can just mine
but
it.
not Police Academy.
You can just mine
3?
that series. No. There are lower depths.
Right.
You can just mine that.
You can watch Leprechaun.
Sure, that'd be one. Yeah.
There's okay. I'm like stalling a little bit in this section because I think we're gonna have a lot to say in the what's not working section, but just because of like what happened.
Do you have less
movie.
Positive to say about?
Well, the things that I like.
Because I have lots to say.
Oh
about
yeah,
what is working. So if I need to be taking the reins on this,
I'm gonna sit back. I have more to say, but
okay.
You go for it.
Well, so one of the things that the movie does that I think is very interesting is that it makes an attempt to conflate the evil of Molasar and that of the Nazis. There's a lot of like the his evil is their evil, they're the same, and at the end of the movie, toward the end of the movie, not the very last thing that happens, but Molasar confronts the last living Nazi, who is Kempfer.
Kempfer.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, you're gonna have you'll have to help me out with that.
Yeah.
So Kempfer, and he's like, "Oh, I come from you." There's a lot of that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it can be fairly literal, and yeah. So that stuff is interesting to me because when you're bringing Nazis into a horror movie, that's a lot to take on, mm-hmm. right? And so there's the sort of Indiana Jones way of taking on Nazis, where they're just like, oh, it's a stock villain, where you can have your hero kill them somewhat mercilessly, and it's okay to root for that. Like it doesn't morally complicate your movie,
right?
So. That's not really what this movie's doing. Like, it is about Nazism in part, right? It makes you think about Jews as suffering and other groups as suffering under their rule and world domination and all that stuff. They're important. Yeah, they're more fully acknowledged.
Yeah, and like just as the keep is like a structure or a complex, like Nazism is a kind of like ideological complex mm-hmm. that the movie explores.
So, but it's a lot to take on, and that's challenging for a horror movie because what do you do with that? So if you have a horror movie where you have a horror monster of some kind, a vampire, a serial killer, or whatever, like, how do you quantify these evils if Nazis are in it too? So like, who is more evil, Adolf Hitler or Michael Myers? How do you compare these things, right? I mean, how do they live alongside each other mm-hmm. as a topic without overwhelming one another or making one seem redundant or disinteresting? So it's like it's a challenging thing to take on as an exercise in writing, which I think is interesting to me. The movie does acknowledge that. To an extent, it's sort of the big part with Kuza, because Kuza's daughter is like, yo, you can't align yourself with him. He's evil. He's a monster. And of course, Kuza's like, well, no, the monsters are the people wearing the black uniforms. Like that's what evil is. Fuck this guy. I mean, in a way, that's kind of Kuza's point, is that the Nazis are more evil. So I may as well use a horror monster against them. The fact that the horror monster is less scary is ultimately the point the movie's kind of trying to make. At least that's Kuza's point of view. So it's wrestling with that problem, and actually and taking it head on, which I think is interesting. So to him, the real evil, he is a more complicated character because he's sort of atheistic. He definitely isn't Jewish in the sense that he doesn't really demonstrate Jewish belief. He's ethnically Jewish. I mean, to the Nazis, he's obviously a Jew. Like, it doesn't matter. But you don't see him practicing his faith in any way. And he talks about the evil as man. That's where the real evil lies. Whereas other people
sort of
like,
rationalist.
Right, whereas other characters like, good and evil or from God or the devil or something. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Our other characters, or many of them, are more metaphysically oriented.
Right.
Which, it's interesting that, like, this, ultimately the threat presented by Molasar and the threat presented by the Nazis, like, they're both existential threats. The Nazis will kill you, and it's the death of your body.
Right.
But Molasar represents a kind of metaphysical death, I think, like the death of your principles, the death of your interest in morality, or like the death of moral nuance or something.
And the Nazis are also, like, they're sort of a concrete threat. Like, it's kind of, I mean, they obviously hadn't won, but if you're at this point in history, you maybe think that they have.
It's not looking good.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're in a concentration camp. I mean, if you're at that point, like if you're Kuza, you really are probably thinking that they've won. So you have the concrete evil, like, it's over, the Nazis beat us, versus you have this other guy who comes in, Molasar, this entity, and what is he gonna do? I don't know. Like, you don't recognize, like, he's confined, so what is he gonna do if he gets out? I don't know.
It's abstract.
So yeah, there's the concrete evil versus the implied.
Right.
The potential evil, is that greater? Well, I don't know. How could anything be? Because the world's ended, from my point of view.
Yeah, well, and Kuza, not only is he an atheist, like, he is a scholar. He's an empiricist, like, he believes in what he can observe.
Sure.
So from his point of view, he's doing the only rational thing. Like, I observe Molasar has healed my body. And I observe that the Nazis revel in the killing of Jews and other, racial minorities, and et cetera, et cetera. So his initial choice to work with Molasar feels eminently rational. The enemy of my enemy and all that stuff. So I love that this becomes a movie, like, not necessarily about faith exactly, but, like, I don't know, about understanding sometimes evil's just evil, and, like, there's no, it kind of can't be rationalized, without your heart dying in the process. But everything kind of just sucks. Like,
sure.
I don't know. It's like, it's kind of a pessimistic movie, but at the same time, like, I don't think it's a downer movie. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that dichotomy, Molasar's evil versus the Nazis' evil, I think that can be pushed further than this movie does. It sort of states it more than it demonstrates it.
Sure.
So I do think there's some problems with it, the idea, but it's still an interesting idea. If I need to continue holding the reins, I do have one last major thing I would like to say about
Go for it.
Kuza, again, we're going to really linger with this character here. I think he has some really interesting stuff going on with him. So we understand his motivations in supporting Molasar. He tells us about believing in man. In a negative sense, like, I don't believe in gods, I believe in man, and man is destroying the world.
Man's
right?
capacity for evil.
Man's evil. He sort of he never says, but he implies an atheism. But also, that's actually what saves him from Molasar in the end. because at the end of the movie, he is asked by Molasar, who is not a god necessarily, but he's a supernatural figure. He's a godlike figure, as much as anyone can deal with. That's a godlike figure. Molasar asks him to sacrifice his daughter because his daughter is trying to stop him from taking out of the keep the artifact that keeps Molasar confined. And Kuza is implied to be corrupted, at least to an extent, at this point in the movie. So he strikes her. And then Molasar's like, "Oh, kill her, and then take the artifact out, and I'll be free." And he rejects that. So it's not Abraham and Isaac,
right?
Abraham, a Jew, not unlike Kuza. In the story, unquestioningly, he's like, "Yeah, well, all right, I'm gonna kill Isaac because he told me to."
Until the angel intercedes.
Yeah, the angel intercedes.
Yeah.
Whereas that is not, importantly, what Kuza does. His belief in man, his atheism, is actually what saves him. Because he says, he's like, "I'm not going to just accept the word of a god unquestioningly. That's not who I am."
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's not usually how a character's arc normally would go. Like, they would come to change their beliefs somehow. So what this is not the character changing. I mean, when we talk about an arc, right? I mean, you have a character who undergoes some kind of trial. Something happens to them. They affect the plot somehow. They interact with other characters, and they change. And that's what a movie is, right? You have a character who interacts with the story and changes. That's the traditional version of it, but it doesn't have to be that. There are other structures here. So in this version, he doesn't really change. He kind of changes back.
He comes to his senses.
Yeah, he reasserts himself.
Yeah.
So that part of it is interesting to me. I like that arc for him.
Yeah.
I like him. I mean, obviously, you're talking a lot about the Holocaust and concentration camps, Nazis, but I mean, so this is a little bit redundant. But his Jewishness is, to me, an interesting element of this character because of his place in the history. So he kind of takes on the responsibility of, he sort of bears the weight of all Jews. Like, and eventually all these other characters they feel like symbols of a larger conflict. They all sort of wrapped up in individuals. So Molasar himself, we're told again and again, of course, that you're supposed to think of his evil as being like that of the Nazis, but he grows strong. He's basically like a gaseous thing when you first see him in the movie, and then he eventually becomes
gradually embodied,
physical. Yeah. Like he eventually, partway through, you see him as a big skeletal thing with some muscles, and then eventually his skin, or a skin-like substance on him. Anyway,
dermis.
Yeah, so he grows strong by cannibalizing Germans, in a sense, like the Nazis did. So you can think of him as being a stand-in for Nazism, and then it's resolved by an outside European force stepping in. In this case, it's from Greece where he shows up. But they don't like save the world in the end. Like, what they achieve is mutual ruin. Which is what Europe kind of looked like at the end of World War II.
And on top of that, like, yes, he grows stronger by cannibalizing the Germans, but at the same time, like, his true power comes from his ability to pervert the morals or the beliefs of others. You know, like, he depends upon Kuza's participation. Right.
So where I was going with that is that so Kuza at the end, there is no, like, his healing goes away. That's taken away by Molasar. So he sort of he's broken. His autoimmune disorder is back, and so he's just like broken again. So he's gonna be dead in a month or two. So like it will really, if you treat these characters as symbols for larger groups of people, it tracks pretty well. And especially with the state of the Jews, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of fucked, right? I mean, at least at that point of view, at that time, 1942, right? I mean, obviously, Jews did go on to survive.
But not before a lot more devastation took place.
Right. Europe went on to survive, but there's ruin that happened there. The Nazis, well, I guess they kind of went on to survive too. But...
Unfortunately.
Perhaps elsewhere another power rises. Who knows? Anyway, yeah. So the characters as symbols for the larger conflict, I think, is interesting.
Yeah.
I think that element of the movie is pretty fascinating.
Totally. It's pleasing the way that it tracks both like on a high level and a sort of ground level too.
Is it time?
No, I have a couple of smaller things.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm readjusting in my chair. Sorry, I've got the wiggles really bad. Okay, here we go. I just wanted to highlight this one moment in Gabriel Byrne's performance that I just thought was like so good. It was such a good choice. So right before his character Kempfer is about to be killed by Molasar, like he's shot Jürgen Prochnow in the back and murdered him, taken the crucifix that the priest passed on, and he thinks that so he's terrified when he sees Molasar initially, because he's like a big fuck off guy with gray skin. It's scary, I guess. And he at first cowers from Molasar, but then he remembers that he has the crucifix and he holds it up, and when he thinks that is protecting him, he gets some of his gross Nazi swagger back for a second. He immediately tries to press his advantage because he thinks he has power over Molasar. And it's just for a second. And obviously he's proven wrong pretty much immediately. But that opportunism, and that willingness to use what he thinks is someone else's fear or fear of death as a cudgel. I just really liked the way that he played that moment.
Yeah, that is a strong moment.
He becomes cocky for a second, and it fails him because ultimately he is killed when Molasar is like, I don't care about the crucifix, that doesn't matter to me. But it was just interesting, the psychology of that moment I thought was really compelling. Another small thing is I thought that the portrayal of the love between Ava and Kuza was very touching. Because they have a bond that seems like there's something unusual about it, just in that they are like a parent and child, but their relationship has become deeper and more complex because they've suffered immensely together and they've lost family members, but they've also faced death together, in a way that no two people should ever have to do. They go to the camp together, and though Ava could, in theory, escape being young and healthy and full of energy, she chooses to stay with Kuza. She resigns herself to death with him when she could live, or we believe perhaps it would be easier for her to live than him. And she resigns herself to death also knowing that her dad might die of natural causes before the camps even have the chance to end his life. So there's a real, I don't know, I just love the strong bond between those characters and the incredible level of intimacy that they share. So I just wanted to note that before we, get it. I like the ways that these characters relate to one another a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's good stuff there.
But that's, I believe, most of what I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, the last thing, and we've kind of touched on this already. The first form that Molasar takes is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
We gotta give some claps and snaps to that, because I've never seen anything like that before It's so cool. He's like a column, a plume of whirling smoke.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool effect, but it's also like shockingly simple. So I think essentially they had a set of pumps, or they're pumping out smoke, and then they had a set of vacuums that were aligned slightly offset from where the pumps were, so they were sucking the smoke back in, but it's just a big plume. It's like a column of smoke that's walking around, where you can see within there they have a brain and some eyes
Glowing
that are just
eyes.
glowing red,
It looks
basically.
so
And it looks like
cool.
it's shot in reverse too. Like it doesn't look like it's
it
actually,
has that sort of unnatural
yeah, there's an
quality to it.
unnatural quality to it.
Which good, you want your supernatural being.
Yeah. So, but when you think about it, how does it work? It works with like jets and vacuums. You know, that thing was like loud as shit. It was going down the fire, especially in the 80s. You know, yeah, right. That's what it sounds like.
But
yeah,
my god,
but it looks great.
That's some serious movie magic there.
Right.
That looks so cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks truly out of this world. So I just
yeah, and that's when the choir music is playing.
yeah. The effect is astonishing. So we can move on now. I just felt like I had to mention that.
Sure.
Because it's like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so if we want to pivot into what's not working, so since this isn't the major thing that isn't working, but yeah, the effects do eventually come to let the movie down.
They go downhill.
Yeah, so this movie was plagued with some problems. We already touched on the fact that this was edited down from around 3 hours, which makes the movie somewhat incoherent. It's not as bad as it ought to be, given that. Like, you can follow it more than you would think.
It's salvageable. It's just, it feels like a kind of amputation.
Yeah, so when Molasar first gets out, eventually they cut back to the Nazis sometime later, and it's like 5 soldiers are dead now, and yeah, we've been defending from him for a week. And like, what? Why did I see that? When did this happen? Yeah, I want to see that. There's a lot of that in the movie. So yeah, it being hacked down, obviously that is to the movie's detriment, and I like a quick movie, but
we love a quick movie.
Yeah, we like a tight 90, as we say over and over again. But the effects too. So their special effects supervisor died partway through the process. So the effect that we just described, I have to assume, was done by the original guy, and the effects as they move along seem to get worse and worse.
Yeah, I gotta say it. Sadly, the latter 2 forms of Molasar look derpy.
Yeah, he reminds me of a Power Rangers villain.
Yes.
That's what he looks like.
Very Rita
in
Repulsa.
The end of the movie.
Yeah.
But he looks like Rita Repulsa would have summoned him, yeah. And the Power Rangers just have to beat him up.
Like, he looks like, I don't know, he looks like his name would be like Buttman or something. Just like, he's so like shiny, and like his voice is amazing.
Yeah, so the actor who plays him did Bib Fortuna in,
I read about that.
Yeah, in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Who is Jabba the Hutt's like assistant, for people who don't know the character's name.
Yes.
Bib Fortuna.
I think he's a Twi'lek.
But he just likes but I guess he just specializes in acting
weird
under,
guys with cool voices.
Just acting under lots of prosthetics.
Yeah, which apparently the prosthetics for this movie were miserable.
I'm sure I'm sure they're always miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. But
anyway,
it's really unfortunate because like the voice is so good, the actor has a lot of presence, but he just like he's like too muscular. He looks, I can't even like put my finger on exactly what he looks like. He just looks a little bit silly.
Yeah. But yeah, so the effects let the movie down.
Yeah.
Which I'm not particularly critical. I mean, if the effects are really good, that's exciting to me. But if they're not that great, I kind of let it go. I'm like, whatever. I tend to go along with a movie and that.
Yeah,
but this does unfortunately hold it back.
Yeah. Just because like it sabotages to some degree that excellent mood that we keep talking about.
But in terms of the movie being cut down, I mean, you notice a lot of stuff that's gone. You notice the effects, or excuse me, the sequences that are not there. So the soldiers being killed off camera, things like that. You're not spending enough time with your characters to invest in them as much as you really ought to, except for Kuza, who, when he shows up, because we don't start the movie with him, he kind of becomes the lead character. So the lead character you're sort of led to believe initially is Varman, the soldier played by Jurgen Prochnow. He kind of goes missing partway through the movie. But since you start the movie with him, so you kind of notice it because you're like, oh, is he not our lead character? What happened? What happened? But so just because the movie starts with him, and because also the actor's so charismatic, you become really aware of his absence.
Yeah.
There's all the action happening off camera. There's the passage of time that's happening off camera. So Varman, again, we start the movie, and he's our hero, and then we see him like a week later, and he has like this 5 o'clock shadow, and he's like haggard and tired.
He's sweaty. It feels like a little bit of a know-when, you know, like how much time is elapsing and how do we know, like what are the, because I think if it were constructed that way deliberately, we might have some internal clues. I'm like, oh, okay, we can tell, or we can guess how much time has passed. But here it's clear that it was not intentionally filmed that way.
Also, something underdeveloped, the romance between Glaken and Ava.
Yes.
And so this is my opportunity to say that the performance that let me down was Scott Glenn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't care for that at all. Didn't care for that at all.
I wanted more of it, to be sure, but I really like Scott Glenn in general, and I think he's got a great presence.
I like Scott Glenn himself, sure.
Yeah.
Just not in this.
Sure. I think he does a good job of sort of being like aloof, a little bit ethereal, a little bit mysterious. It's just that character barely gets to talk or do or say anything.
Yeah.
And so, when the romance begins, I'm like, okay, I'm interested.
Well, they meet in the way that the movie's cut, which is not necessarily how it actually plays out in the original story, but the way the movie is cut, at least, they meet and they bang that night.
Like the next scene, basically.
They're banging.
Yeah. I think,
and it's just because he has so much ooh, I'm an alien, or I don't know. You don't know what I am, but I have so much presence that you just can't help but remove your clothing.
And it's like, I could be down. I could be real down for that. I just want more connective tissue. Right. And I want to feel as though time has passed. Like even if there are cues that suggest to us that time has passed, like, the 5 o'clock shadow or whatever, I want spatially, I want the geography of the movie to be a little bit more spaced out.
Indeed.
Another thing that sort of falls by the wayside because of the hack job of it all is the threat to the Romanian villagers. So when Kempfer comes into the village, the let's call him the super Nazi guy, our Gabriel Byrne character, he immediately executes several Romanian men, claiming that the soldiers who had been dying in the keep were killed by Romanian partisans. And so then he takes hostages from among the surviving villagers, and he's like, okay, for every German soldier that dies, I'm going to kill someone. And so that feels like a real threat, because you care about the villagers, and you care about the fact that Verman, our quote unquote non-super Nazi, it protests this. He doesn't want these villagers to be killed.
Right.
But they really just kind of let that go. So I'm like, okay, have like Romanians been dying this whole time? Like, are they, if time has been passing, and if Kempfer still doesn't believe that there's a supernatural presence or is resistant to that idea, has he killed like 30 Romanian villagers at this point?
No, because if you look really closely, one of them, so he takes hostages and takes them into the keep. So one of them's the priest. One of them is the innkeeper. So because they're interrogating the innkeeper when they have the language that's on the wall. Like, what does that say, innkeeper? And he's like, I don't know. I have no idea what it is. And the priest is like, no, it's really not. The priest steps in And the innkeeper, you do later see him keeping the inn.
Yeah.
But he's such a minor character, you don't necessarily put it together. So I guess at some point they just let the hostages go.
I wish we could have seen that.
Yeah.
Because Kempfer, the character, as he's presented to us, is like a brutal bastard.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
And deliberately more cruel than he needs to be because he's wishing to inspire fear in the locals. So like he's not necessarily bound by logical principles in the same way as our other characters. Like it doesn't matter that the Romanians aren't the ones killing the German soldiers.
Right.
You know?
Well, not only that, the Romanians that's an allied state.
Right.
So the Romanians, at this point in history, there had been a fascist takeover in Romania. So that's an ally to Germany. That's not a conquered nation. That's like, Americans going over and killing some Englishmen or something right now. Yeah, it'd be like that kind of act, essentially.
Yeah. So I think I just wish either we had seen Kempfer kind of capitulate on that, be like, okay, clearly it's not the Romanians. Fuck off, go back to your house. Or the threat persisted and it felt serious. Like it felt, like it was adding to the stakes of things.
Sure.
Yeah. Can I say something a little bit random?
Sure.
It's not random exactly, but I wish this movie were like more violent. Or like more like I wish the camera kind of lingered on images of violence a little bit more.
Yeah.
This is a very dreamy...
That might be because of the effects.
Yeah, well, sure. I think, or even if it's not more violent, I just want it to be more like visceral, because I think that would heighten the sense of like surreality or unreality that we get. Like the movement of the camera and the framing of each shot are ultimately what decides the tone of a movie like this. So like strange, violent images, I suspect, would heighten that rather than undermining it. And Michael Mann is so good at sort of marrying beauty and ugliness, or like horror and sensuousness, in something like a Manhunter. So I would love to see more of that distinct visual flair here. And as you say, maybe that's because like their effects person died.
Right.
And was replaced with what I can only assume was a lesser craftsperson. No offense to whoever.
Yeah, for all I know, they had a week to do what took 4 months to do. I have no idea.
Yeah. But that's just something that I was thinking about. Because, like, you see, like, one of the jumps that the movie makes is, like, when, like, suddenly, 2/3 of the way through or whatever, all of the Nazis are dead. Except for Verman and Kempfer. And you see, like, you go out into the sort of courtyard of the keep, and there's, like, blackened, twisted skeletons. They look like they've been burned. They look like they've been frozen or turned into mud or, like, ripped apart. And I'm like, how did this happen? I want to see that. Like, just because I love an effects movie, but
sure,
just, again, to get that sense of continuity, and to heighten the way it feels to watch the movie. So
yeah, it's a horror movie. You want to see stuff happen.
Yeah,
some stuff at least. You have to be deliberate about that. But yeah, I'm 100% with you. Actually, I would like to talk a little bit more about the romance.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry,
I feel like I interrupted you.
My thoughts on that, but the romance, that's a problem for the movie. That's a real drag. So you are more approving of Scott Glenn in this movie than I am. Glaken. To me, he's a bland robot. It's just not played correctly to me. He's not otherworldly or ethereal. He's stiff and unfeeling. But it's a problem too, because this movie's cut down so damn much. So what are you going to do? Like, at least it's a plot event that happens, So as it is presently, you can't say cut it. I mean, you can cut it, of course, and perhaps I did, but, but you have to add a lot to replace it. because this movie's already so sparse. The fact that somebody has sex with somebody else is like, hey, something's happening.
Yeah, and if you cut it, the movie is like 50 minutes long. So,
right.
That's an issue. That's an issue.
Yeah, it's 40 minutes of them having sex. That's
yeah.
Right.
Okay, I didn't really think about the math there, but still, it's, when your movie's 90 minutes, it's hard to lose anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the name Glaken Trismegistus. That's just a fun name.
It's Trismegistus in the movie.
Is it? Yeah. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, listener, I just want you to know, because that name comes from the sort of mythic figure Hermes Trismegistus. I looked up how to say it. It is, outside of this movie, Trismegistus, not Trismegistus.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's dumb old Trismegistus in the movie.
In the movie, yeah. So, yeah, if that's how they pronounce it, that's his name.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
There are tons of examples of that through history, though. Like Cicero, for instance.
Cicero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Which
Caesar,
like,
Kaiser.
Yeah, you have a hard time like taking it seriously when you're like, Cicero. How great could that guy be?
I'm gonna go Cicero his butt. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, you don't want to offend his ghost.
Yeah, well, we're a horror movie podcast. We have to be careful.
That's right. I'd like to talk some more about Molasar.
Yeah.
So, who is he, and what does he want?
I don't know. I mean, he's bad, and he wants badness.
Right. The movie takes great pains to say that he's like the Nazis. Which, great. I mean, that as I said previously, that's something that interests me. But he goes to Kuza and is upset. He has an interesting interaction with Kuza because he says, I can sense death on you. Which Kuza says, that's because I've been in the death camps. Like I have. Molasar doesn't even know what that is. He's like, this is a place where people go to die. And he's like, no, this is a place where people are murdered in mass. And Molasar freaks out. He's like, who, my people? He's pissed, right?
Yeah.
Which, given that we don't really know who this guy is, and given that he also manipulates Kuza in this scene, he lies to him to get him to take an artifact out of the keep, which is in fact an artifact that was placed there to keep him sealed because he's so evil. Given these things are happening at the same time, I don't understand how to read this guy's motivation. So is he a conqueror? What does he actually feel about that? Or is he defending his people?
Is he a warlord kind of a
Yeah,
figure?
is he that? So is he genuinely, so he could be evil. It's not that these things are at odds with each other. Like, I'm accepting that he's bad, just fine, but is he bad but also a warlord who is a conqueror but is defending his own people? And if so, who are those people? Are those the Romanians? Are those the Jews? Is that who he is? Ava calls him a golem, which that doesn't seem likely to me, but it's kind of plausible. He does kind of look like a golem.
I mean, he
at
has
the end
that
of the movie.
His body looks constructed, and I mean, we literally see it being constructed from scene to scene. But like, I think of golems as having sort of,
they're made from dirt or clay,
and they're usually controlled by like sorcerers or something.
Right.
So it's like, was he made? Was he born? Did he live?
So yeah, I don't know what his deal is. So that's a problem for the movie. I'd like to understand what's driving our monstrous villain.
Yeah, is he a demon? Is he a fallen angel? Is he? Because I mean, he's positioned in some specific ways.
I thought for a time they were aliens.
Sure.
I thought they were maybe going to go that direction.
Sure. Yeah.
With it.
Why not? Why not?
So there's other stuff that's complicated with him. So he tells as he kills the final Nazi, he says that he comes from him, which you can read that literally because he's been eating he's been eating Nazi souls.
Yeah.
Sort of. maybe that's what that is. So there's an effect where like a light comes out of the Nazi's eyes, and then eventually they explode. In the doing of it. So maybe he's eating their souls. It's not completely. He says at one point to Kuza, "I will consume them." It's a quick line, so you can miss it pretty easily. But so he is literally, is he comprised of Nazis? Because he's built his body off of the raw materials of them. Is it that? Is the implication that he's driven by their evil? Like, oh, you're an invading force, and so I'm going to enact violence because of you. So I come from you because of what you're doing to me. Is it more atmospheric?
Like there's a reflection of their evil,
right? Yeah, these are the sort of things. Like what's here is interesting to me, but it's just not enough.
Is he like the spirit of malice or something? Like,
right. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's to me feels like something that was lost in the cut.
Well, and I think like if the movie as a whole felt more deliberate, like if this cut that we have of the movie felt more like the cut that was supposed to happen, you might be able to get away with an antagonist who like we never really get the backstory of, you know, if everything else felt less wobbly. But here there's so much wobbliness that it kind of makes you like cast your eyes like, okay, what's solid, what can I stand on, what can I know for certain?
You just see holes everywhere.
Yeah, where maybe, you know, if it were the movie that was meant to, you know, if this was our 3-hour cut, our mystical 3-hour cut that we keep talking about, maybe we would appreciate the ambiguity of him, you know, like it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But as it stands, I'm like, I don't know where he comes from or why, or really how to fight him because of that. And it's interesting. I actually have a similar note to this. Unless was there more that you wanted to say?
No, in fact, I'm basically done with my critique of the movie because everything goes back to the same thing, which is that it's carved up to pieces. So ultimately, I mean, that is almost exclusively the single problem with this movie.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It's like everything.
I've just divided it in a few ways. Oop, just punched the microphone.
Everything springs from the same source in this case.
Yeah.
My thing, which I think also comes from a similar place, and I will say, like, maybe this is something that's addressed in the novel. I don't know. I haven't read it, though I would be curious to. But I wish that the folklore elements or like the elements of mysticism in the movie felt more specifically Romanian. Like ultimately Trismegistus, he's like, oh, I have this staff and I need to combine it with a talisman and that'll fire a big laser at Molisar. But I'm like, is anything about that specifically trafficking in Romanian folklore? I don't know. And I looked up Radu Molisar to see like is this a figure from Romanian mythology or something? Like, you know, maybe a pre-Christian figure or a figure from myth or heroic tales. And everything I found pointed back to just this movie. So there could be something that like, it's not like I researched this extensively or exhaustively. So there could be something that I just haven't stumbled onto or something. But I'm like, why did it have to be Romania? Like, is that merely a contrivance of the World War II plot? Like, is it a historical convenience for the movie to take place in this time? Mm-hmm. Because I was reading about, I started because of my revision reading about Romanian folklore, and it's fascinating. It's really interesting, actually, because it's like the folklore of like the Carpathian, Wallachian region.
Right. So the big thing is vampires.
Yeah. But there's other stuff too, like in cosmology, or in, Romanian cosmology, as I understand it, having again done minimal research. But there's this idea that like deities, this sort of omnipotent beings, are kind of like matryoshka dolls, like nesting dolls, where like, oh, you have like, you know, you peel off a layer and it's Apollo, and then you peel off the next layer and it's like the Old Testament God, and you peel off the next layer and it's Jesus. They're all sort of born from one another, but even though they're pulling from like different theological traditions and stuff, I was like, that's so interesting in a movie that is about the nature of evil and like an existence, you know. I was like, I wish I could have seen a little bit of this, or just something that gave it more specific character in terms of its magic and its investment in the supernatural. Because I was also looking at like folk figures, and you know, because they've got a figure called and pardon me if I butcher this pronunciation. I did not take a Romanian language class in grad school, but Făt Frumos, who's like he's like a folk hero who is like, his name is just like the handsome young man who just wanders the land trying to put the world to rights, and who always manages to solve things like positively. But he's just like a good young sort of knightly figure. Maybe with like a little bit of a valence of like he's immortal, like kind of like almost like a Fisher King character, but without like the death and stuff. It is really interesting, and I'm like, I would love to see something like that, or something local explored here. You know, I mean, even if it's something like, oh, actually it was aliens after all, I would still love something a little bit more like choicey. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, that's that would certainly be a direction to take this. I think that the movie as it exists now, part of the reason that that I think one would want to do something. I mean, you need to do something with it other than how it plays out, because at present the rod and the amulet, they look like sci-fi props. They don't look like anything at all.
Ancient.
So when they're busted out, when you do finally see them, it's like, is this a Star Trek prop or something? And I mean, like 60s Star Trek. They also look like crap.
They do.
Yeah, they look like crap. So like, it's just like, I'm expecting it to be, you know, if this is an ancient monster that's been sealed, and Glaken is some kind of ancient hero, some kind of magician or an angel or something, you expect he's going to pull out a scepter, some kind of ornate thing on
something
it,
more organic looking.
or something. Maybe it's it looks like crap because it's like the mug in the last Indiana Jones movie, where it's the Carpenter's cup, so his cup is the shitty one, right? But it looks like it has, you can believe it's imbued with mystical power. Instead, it looks like a piece of plumbing.
It looks like a piece of PVC that got spray painted,
which is so it looks like the thing that it is.
Yeah. That was a shame. Just because, again, like, you're grasping for stuff to hold on to in this movie.
Right.
So like a sense of the past, a sense of ancientness and mysticism could go a long way, I think. You know, and like, just the writer in me always would prefer a specific choice to a kind of choiceless non-choice.
Right.
But maybe I'll address that in my revision. Who knows?
Well, is it time to head down that road?
I think it could be.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to go steal some icons from an ancient castle, and then I'll be back with my revision.
Okay. I'm going to go dream of some tangerines, and then I'll be back with my revision. All right, we're back. I'm going to go first this time.
All right.
So you may be surprised, or maybe not, to hear that my revision doesn't actually kick in until the Kuzas show up. So, a lot of the stuff remains the same. The introduction of Vermon's unit of men, the initial freeing of Molasar, let's see, the awakening of Glaken Trismegistus and his sort of the journey that he undertakes, the arrival of Kempfer, and then ultimately Dr. Kuza and Ava coming to the village. So that's all the same. Mm-hmm. So we pick up, let's see. Yes. We pick up basically after Ava is attacked in the keep and she goes to the inn. So Ava takes a room in the nearby inn, but Glaken Trismegistus has already requested the room in which she's shown. She finds herself deeply interested in the stranger. As Ava questions him about his origins and identity, Glaken says that he is a traveler, but otherwise conceals his mission and his past. The next tiny bit is the same, where Kuza is visited by the entity who's becoming more and more corporeal, and kind of suggests that, if Kuza retrieves the talisman, he'll kill the Nazis. Mm-hmm. The next thing that changes is that Kempfer continues his execution of the Romanian hostages, despite Vermon's protestations. The malign influence of Molasar begins to affect the villagers, driving them mad. The Romanian villagers linger at the fringes of the village, their apprehensive stares growing increasingly sinister. They begin to stalk restlessly about, provoking the already nervous Nazis, who in turn torment Ava and Kuza, the only ones left mostly unaffected by Molasar's power. Even Father Fonescu, previously kind to Kuza despite the difference in their religion, visits Kuza only to be cruel to him, endorsing the Nazis' plans to send him and the other quote-unquote misfits to the concentration camps. Ava visits the priest in his church after, and he is seen with a crazed look, with red eyes and blood streaming from his mouth. As she flees from Father Fonescu, a group of Nazis corner her near the inn. Glaken, seeing this, protects her with his strange powers and warns her to stay indoors. Ava, frightened of the change that she sees in the once gentle villagers, chafes at holing up in the inn. Sensing that the taciturn Glaken is more than he appears, she follows him one day as he goes on an excursion into the surrounding forest. In turn, he senses that he is not alone, yet he proceeds with his task, venturing deeper and deeper into the shadowy forest until it opens up into a wide grassland. Half hidden among the swaying grasses is a ruined structure of some kind, perhaps a church, or perhaps something even older. Glaken sits and waits for Ava to emerge. She sits beside him and asks him why he has come here. He says that the talisman, which once sealed a great evil in the keep, has been broken and must be repaired. This place holds the key to doing so. The two wander the ruins together until Glaken stops, seemingly at random, over the remnants of a tiled hall. Running his hands along the tiles, Glaken utters an incantation. The stone tiles liquefy like sugar water, and from the earth rises an ancient casket. Ava watches in awe, more fascinated than frightened, as Glaken opens the casket to reveal the mummified corpse of a woman holding a bone and clay mask in her arms, a traditional Romanian object used for driving away evil spirits. Momentarily ignoring the mask, Glaken looks on the shriveled body with tenderness. Seeing this, Ava asks him who the woman was. He quietly states that they were once lovers. He asks her then if Ava will take the mask to defend the keep, thereby linking her fate to his. Still desperate to save her father from the fate that awaits him, Ava steals her resolve and takes the mask from the dead woman. The casket sinks back into the tiles, which reform as though nothing had ever taken place. Glaken places a hand against the stone in a solemn farewell. As Ava studies the ancient mask, she asks Glaken for a second time who or what he is, and he gives his answer in a stream of images. A bird soaring over dark waters, a gnarled hawthorn tree with a fire burning within its trunk, a grim-faced warrior youth lifting the severed head of a Balaur, the many-headed serpent of Romanian folklore. When her trance ends, Ava grasps Glaken's hand, and he embraces her. The two make love in the shadows of the ruin. When all is over, as they lie in the field together, Glaken tells Ava that his mission is and always has been to destroy the evil within the keep. His staff is one of the talismans required to do so. The mask is another. The third, the strongest of the talismans, was sealed inside the keep to imprison the great evil that resides there. Glaken seeks to restore the mask and staff to their original states in the hopes of rebinding the being in the keep. If he cannot, then the only thing that will restore the keep is a willing sacrifice. Together they make their way back to the village, preparing for the confrontation to come. So, I'll pause here just to talk about some of the changes I made. I wanted to give a little bit more context for like what Glaken's deal is. I wanted to make the magic more specifically related to Romanian folklore, and I wanted to have some reason, some interval that might explain their sudden attraction to one another. I kind of like read that moment in my version as Ava being like, oh my god, like you are like a folk hero, you are an ancient being, and like kind of that maybe making more concrete like the thrall that he has over her, or the sort of spell that he casts,
Right.
And that intense feeling of attraction between them.
Sure.
And also presents him as someone who once loved, and a long time ago, so I was hoping that would do a couple of different things. And there was something else that I wanted it to do too, which I've since forgotten. That's just how it goes, I guess. Oh yeah, it gets Ava a little bit more involved in the proceedings, because like her job in the original cut of the movie is basically to be like, man that I love, why must you die? Oh, you've died. How awful. Oh, you yet live. Yay. Oh, no, you did die. Or you are dying. And like, she just doesn't have that much to do.
Right.
So I wanted to give her something because I do like this character and I like her sort of her strength. Okay. Let's see. What's next? Where was I? Ah, yes. Learning of the plan to remove the third talisman, Glaken tells Kuza the talisman is his, not Molasar's, and that its power is all that is preventing the evil within the keep from being unleashed upon the world. He further reveals that were Kuza even able to approach the talisman, it would indicate that he has already been corrupted. Afraid that Molasar will withhold his promise of revenge on the Nazis if Glaken interferes, Kuza tells Kempfer that Glaken has been poking around and asking too many questions. This prompts Kempfer to send a group of soldiers to arrest him. Seeing the squad of soldiers coming his way, Glaken entrusts his staff and the bone and clay mask to Ava. He promises that, no matter what happens next, he will return. But in the meantime, Ava must find a way to make the mask bear its teeth and make the hawthorn staff bear fruit. The soldiers arrive and arrest Glaken. When he resists, the soldiers shoot him with machine guns and he falls into a ravine. With terrible screams of rage, the remaining villagers swamp the German soldiers and pull them to pieces with their bare hands. Ava, watching in horror, realizes that this is not vengeance, this is simply madness. Next, the villagers turn on her and she runs, but there's nowhere to go but the keep. She resolves to join her father, whether in life or in death. Deep within the keep, Vermon furiously denounces Kempfer for his sadistic crimes, calling his drive towards domination of the world in the future a twisted fairy tale. Kempfer retorts that Vermon did not join the anti-fascist forces in Spain to fight the Germans, meaning that he attacks the Nazis' acts from a place of convenience rather than conviction. He then claims that the monster hunting the Nazis is a reflection of their evil. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by the sound of horrible screams and machine gun fire from the keep's inner courtyard. As Vermon reaches for his sidearm and the cross that Kuza gave him, Kempfer shoots him in the back, killing him. Kempfer then goes to the silent vestibule. He finds all the German soldiers slaughtered, some by the malevolent magic of the keep, and others by the maddened Romanian villagers. He fires at them, and yet, in the inverse of Molasar, their bodies seem to grow less and less corporeal by the minute. Terrified, Kempfer attempts to escape in a military vehicle, but all of the ones parked inside of the keep have been disabled. When he attempts to escape on foot instead, the Romanians, phantom-like, crowd the exit of the keep, preventing him from leaving. Molasar then appears, and while Kempfer presents the cross, it has no effect on him. Molasar affirms Vermon's sentiment that he and the Nazis are the same, and then he kills the terrified Kempfer. So here, again, I wanted to bring the villagers back a little bit because, we see Molasar's influence having an effect on some people, but not all people. And one could argue that his influence doesn't or shouldn't extend outside of the walls of the keep. But, we see, when we see the priest in his church with, blood coming out of his mouth and eyes and stuff, I'm like, well, he's out there. So why not the rest of them, too? That was just, for me, just a little fun thing. Okay. Kuza retrieves the third talisman, the one Molazar desires, to remove it from the keep. It resembles a crude martsishor, a Romanian talisman of twined string meant to ward off evil, except that years of being immured in the keep have stained it black, rather than the traditional red and white. After acquiring the martsishor, Kuza starts for the outside, while Glaken, having survived the fall in the machine gun fire, climbs up the ravine and makes for the keep, preparing for the final showdown. Bearing the mask and the staff, Ava enters the keep and attempts to stop her father. Kuza resists and strikes her down. When Molasar commands him to kill her, he hesitates, fighting against the corruption of his heart. Ava lets go of the ritual talismans and offers to sacrifice herself freely in the hopes of sealing Molasar in the keep once more. Her brave act awakens the mask, which bares its teeth in a fearsome grimace, and the staff, which blooms with jeweled fruits. Likewise, her act awakens Kuza from the haze of Molasar's evil influence, and he stops fighting and starts questioning the entity instead. As punishment, Molasar returns Kuza to his diseased state. Glaken arrives, and with a sad smile, he congratulates Ava on restoring the magical talismans. He explains that when the evil is gone, so will he be too, but all will be well, for she is just as much a sorcerer as he. He dons the scowling mask, then retrieves the martsishor talisman from Kuza and combines it with the staff, forming a weapon. He then confronts Molasar. The weapon emits beams that interact with the keep's icons to disable Molasar, turning him back into mist and banishing him back into the innermost recesses of the keep. A great force begins to pull Glaken into the aperture from which the entity was originally freed, trapping him also within. The villagers, including Father Fonescu, now freed from Molazar's maddening influence, escort Ava and Kuza away. Ava, now carrying the fruiting branch and the mask, gives her arm to her once more ailing father, who takes comfort in her redoubled resolve. The end.
We did some interesting... We have some intersections.
Are there some symmetries?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that that's obviously very consistent with your workshop critique, and I think that's it's fun to see how we solve the same problems differently.
Yeah.
Because I think we have addressed most of the same problems.
Kind of as with Cherry Falls last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's when things are at their most interesting.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, would you watch this version of the movie?
No, of course not.
Damn it.
No.
Okay, I failed. But, I think that I wanted to kind of traffic in more Romanian imagery.
Yeah, sure.
All three of those things are objects used for driving off bad spirits. And I wanted, and so I don't know that this comes out really explicitly in my revision, but something I've been thinking about a lot is, obviously I have called on Romanian folklore as a sort of balm to both the ancient evil and the evil of the Nazis. But this is in some ways a very conventional move. This is potentially trafficking in what's known as romantic nationalism rather than like fascistic nationalism, where there's a sort of great pride in like cultural identity. So like, you see this during Romanticism. You see this in, say, like the Brothers Grimm collecting quote unquote German fairy tales, like with the intention of kind of formulating this mythic German identity. You see it in other nations too, but that's an easy example. You see this in the French Revolution, in the paintings of liberty and stuff like that. It's usually formulated in response to over rationalism. So, for the Romantics, it was a response to the Age of Reason. But it's a movement that kind of crops up cyclically. And some historians or philosophers like characterize romantic nationalism as like a potentially positive form of nationalism because it's more about like cultural identity than, say, ethnic identity. And then, of course, there are some political theorists who are like, fuck no, any kind of nationalism is toxic, is poisonous. So, there are probably like, I don't know, maybe a historian in the audience would say like, oh, like you've just swapped one kind of danger for another. But, I did.
Well, it's not your responsibility to solve World War II.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I thank you.
So if that historian has some issue with that, they'll be all right.
But, all that to say, like, I found that interesting. And like, if you look at even like war propaganda from like the Allies and stuff, you see, propaganda posters with like King Arthur or whatever, relevant cultural figure or folkloric figure being marshaled as like an anti-fascism figure. I find that stuff really interesting, like we fear the future that's coming, so we gesture or we reach towards a mythic past as a means of like something to cling to. So ironically, this also became something for me to cling to just to fight the shakiness of this movie. Anyway, I've talked a lot. I want to hear about your revision.
All right, let's do it. Well, my corrections or changes rather come in a lot earlier, and you wrote a lot of new material in there, which I've done some of that too, but my changes are a little more consistently distributed throughout. So we'll differ in that respect. But my change comes. Let's see. It comes when we first see Glaken awaking. So Blakey. So, having remotely sensed the entity's release, a strange man begins to travel via boat from Axis-occupied Greece to the village, bringing with him a large case. The only difference in that is that he is not here named. So otherwise, that scene plays out the same. Back at the keep, the being kills 5 more soldiers over the following days. Vorman leads the defense personally, organizing patrols, ordering the men to hold their positions, but nothing works. Each morning brings another body, each of which, curiously, seems to have been killed in a manner reminiscent of wartime death. Explosions, burns, and the like, and the men grow increasingly terrified. Vorman himself begins to look hollowed out, sleepless, caught between his duty to his men and the dawning certainty that whatever is killing them cannot be fought with guns. Vorman's report of the deaths and request for backup is answered by the arrival of a detachment of the SS Einsatzkommandos. I'm sure I'm not saying that
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Einsatzkommandos.
Under the command of the sadistic Eric Kempfer. So we haven't actually said this specifically, but so our initial lead, Vorman, he's a soldier. So he attacks territory and he claims it, and that's his. So he's a soldier in the way that everybody's a soldier who's a soldier. So the people who come in, their responsibility was to go through conquered territories and round up Jews and other quote unquote undesirables. So when you think of the evils of Nazism, like that's a really good symbol of that. So Vorman is wearing green military fatigues, and Kempfer is wearing the black SS uniform. He's got the armband. They're visually very different. It's all but that's not what's changed. What's changed is that the continuing attacks of Molasar, so far unnamed at this point, but Molasar are seen. We want to see this happen over time. So that's a sequence that we want to see in this movie.
Totally.
So that has changed here. So we proceed, and the changes. I guess at this point I pick up more or less where you do, where your changes begin. So Ava takes a room in the nearby inn, but the strange man from before has already requested the room to which she is shown. She acquiesces, but he says that she should stay. She refuses, claiming that she would not stay in a room with a strange man, but he simply states that she is without option. The innkeeper, present for this exchange, arranges for a second bed to be sent to the room. The man introduces himself as Hermes, though he treats Ava with apparent disinterest. Questioned by Ava about his origins and identity, Hermes says that he is a traveler, but otherwise conceals his mission and past. So the sex, the romance, out of this movie.
Sure.
None of that. Not useful for our purpose. So, Kuza is visited by the entity, who is becoming increasingly corporeal. He calls himself Molasar. Again, they don't actually. I'm pretty sure they don't ever say that name in the movie. It's only hidden credits. So, at this point, it is. He actually speaks it aloud. So Molasar, who has taken an interest in him given that he senses death about him, which Kuza explains as the effect of having lived in the death camp. Molasar says he is angry at the killing of his people, though he does not say who his people are. The Romanians whose land this is, or perhaps someone else. He asks Kuza to retrieve a talisman, which he claims is his, from the keep. Molasar states that this will allow his escape from the keep's confines, and affirms he will then destroy the Nazis as he did Ava's attackers. Kuza, indebted to the entity and relishing the emergence of an anti-Nazi force, agrees. The malign influence of Molasar begins to affect the villagers, driving them mad. Father Finescu, previously kind to Kuza despite the difference in their religion, visits Kuza, only to be cruel to him, endorsing the Nazis' plans to send him and the other misfits to the concentration camps. Ava visits him in his church after, and he is seen with a crazed look, with red eyes and blood streaming from his mouth. The innkeeper later visits to explain that he has no food to serve. The food in their larders has spoiled. Crops have withered on the vine, and the livestock have set about eating one another.
Ooh.
That is from, actually, another Ian McKellen thing. That's from Macbeth. Macbeth, Divine Right of Kings. So the king is killed, and the land sets upon itself. All order in the world is ruined at that point because everything sort of comes down. And in Shakespeare, right? That was the thinking at that time in that particular death. So that's one of the things that always stuck out to me in Macbeth. So in Macbeth, the horses start eating one another.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's in Shakespeare.
That's horrible.
So I took inspiration from Shakespeare. How about me?
You're so cultured.
Learning of the plan to remove the talisman, Hermes tells Kuza the talisman is his, not Molasar's, and that its power is all that is preventing the evil within the keep from being unleashed upon the world. He further reveals that if Kuza were able to even approach the talisman, it indicates that he is already being corrupted. Next, Molasar carries out another attack on the Nazis, this time on a fortified position, and inexplicably, Kempfer discovers that the Nazis have died in a manner that suggests death by gas inhalation, as he especially well would recognize, despite that no lingering evidence of gas weapons remains, no leftover munitions or smell of almonds. Kempfer sees the silhouetted approach of a large, imposing figure and reacts with fear. But Varaman, who is accompanying him, raises the cross given to him by Kuza, which seems to deter the barely seen figure. Shortly after, Molasar visits Kuza, perhaps in person or perhaps in a dream, as the being fades in and out of Kuza's vision. He is seen 3 ways. First in the fog-covered skeletal form, again as the muscled, skinless creature he saw in the second visit. Kuza observes that Molasar is growing stronger. Molasar affirms this, but he says he remains vulnerable, that Hermes is his ancient enemy, a conqueror from faraway lands, and that Hermes must not be permitted to enter the keep. Finally, his third form is revealed, a muscled, statuesque form with the Hebrew characters for truth written on its forehead. So I'm going to wind back a little bit here and refer to a couple of things. So I'm trying to emphasize Molasar and Nazis as being the same. And so the deaths that Molasar inflicts on people are the deaths of war. So initially it's munitions, fire, bombs, then it becomes gas. So revoking concentration camp style murder in that case.
I love the thing of like, you know, I mean, that sort of ancient magical principle. Like if you eat something, you gain its powers. And so there's an
element of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, how did the Nazis kill people?
Yeah, which I'm bringing that up. Right. It's there in the original, but I'm sort of bringing that a little more forward.
Yeah.
So we have another effect sequence here. We need more things to happen in this movie. So we have another attack on Nazis that is seen, which you think helped to solve that by having the crazed villagers committing more acts of violence. I had Molasar doing more acts of violence, but we're essentially solving the same problem there. But at the end of the movie, Kempfer goes for the crucifix, but he has no reason to do this. In the original movie, he just kind of goes for it. It's like a holy icon. He hasn't seen anything that we, the audience, have seen him see that makes him think that there's a supernatural presence. So here we actually see the cross being used in that way. It's relevant. It matters now. So yes. Also, Hebrew characters for truth on the forehead. That's what a golem looks like in Hebrew mythology. A golem is a carved thing, but it has the Hebrew character for truth written there. Right. So that's to anybody who knows that bit of mythology, that would be familiar. I did not.
Well, and I have to say, like listeners, a little bit of inside lore here. Nick Oliver loves a golem.
I do. Yeah, I do like golems. Yeah, that's true.
They're super cool, but you specifically really like them.
Yeah, for some reason I like golems as mythological creatures. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just kind of into it. So we proceed. Kuza tells Kempfer that Hermes is asking too many questions, and he believes him to be aligned with Russian partisans, prompting Kempfer to send a group of soldiers to arrest him. At the inn, Hermes tells Ava that his full name is Hermes Trismegistus, that great darkness has spread across these lands, and with them, Molasar's rise was inevitable. He says, quote, "That which is above is like to that which is below, and that which is below is like to that which is above." He sees her despair, but tells her that a great light has arisen as well, that his mission is and always has been to destroy the evil within the keep, and that, when that evil is gone, he will be too. He goes on to say that the time of ancient powers will come to its end, and that soon something else will rise to take its place. The soldiers then arrive to arrest him. When he resists, the soldiers shoot him with machine guns, and he falls into a ravine. So here, the character Glaken, he takes his name from Hermes Trismegistus. I've just made him Hermes Trismegistus.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Also gesturing at another Ian McKellen property. You know, the age of the elves is over. It's the age of man.
So that quote is from the work that is ascribed to this figure. But as above, so below. So we're trying. So essentially, in my version, I'm trying to say, okay, there's some element of Molasar being like the Nazis because he is consuming them, and so he is taking on their shape. There's also the element of there is a great, like, the world here is ruined by World War II. It's like death on such an unimaginable scale that supernatural elements are responding to it.
Yeah.
So heaven and earth are taking on the shape of, or taking on the same shape. As above, so below.
Right.
So that, we're trying to emphasize that element too. The other thing about, I remembered this finally. So I also am trying to bring forward the idea that these characters are symbols of larger groups. Molasar being a symbol of the Nazis. Hermes, in my version, or Glaken in the original one, being a symbol of old Europe. Ava and Kuza being symbols of, or representing the Jews. And that was part of the reason I wanted Hermes or Glaken to treat her with disinterest, because Europe treated the Jews with scorn, or
historically,
or disinterest at best. Yeah, they really didn't give a shit. I mean, they came to an extent when they realized that the history's largest genocide had been acted on them. So like sympathy started to become given to them at that point. So that did eventually happen, but it's not like the Nazi style hate just came from nowhere. There's plenty of anti-Semitism that was in the culture at the time, throughout huge swaths of history.
They're
of course.
historical scapegoats,
right? So that was part of why I didn't want Hermes to be in love with her. Hermes, to me, if he's going to be a symbol of old Europe, should not care at best. If you have to treat him as a good sort of heroic figure, so he can't be like scornful of her either. You can't go too far, but he has to basically be disinterested in her. So that's where we go. At this point, the interaction between Varman and Kempfer is the same. But now Kempfer has a reason to go for the cross. So that is, so the motivations that are built going into that are different, but otherwise the way it plays out on screen would be the same. So, then next, Molasar appears, though partially in shadow, and while Kempfer presents the cross, it has no effect, Molasar taking it from his hands and crushing it. He tells Kempfer that he has no belief in this icon, and tells him to present instead the symbol he believes in. Kempfer turns his armband to present the swastika to Molasar, and asks, "What are you? Where do you come from?" Molasar laughs and leans forward into the light, where the Hebrew characters appeared in Kuza's vision appears instead a swastika. And he replies, "I come from you, and I share your faith." He then kills the terrified Kempfer, drinking his life force and exploding him in spectacular fashion. I've borrowed that from a couple of things, actually, but the idea of a symbol you can't just use a cross if you don't have any faith in the cross, right? Like, and Kempfer doesn't believe in the cross. He just is like, he doesn't like crosses. Okay, I'll use that. He's opportunistic, but doesn't believe in it. What he believes in is a swastika. That's his symbol. However, Molasar revealing a little bit more about himself, being so adorned.
Yeah, it really hammers home he's a reflection of the malice.
Oh, it's on the nose for sure.
Yeah.
So, through the guidance of an unseen Molasar, Kuza retrieves the talisman, which appears as an illuminated gemstone, to remove it from the keep. After acquiring the talisman, Kuza starts for the outside, while Hermes, having survived the fall and the machine gun fire, climbs the ravine and goes to the inn, retrieving an ancient scepter from his travel case. So we too have changed. You much more than me, but I too have changed the stupid-looking
PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ava enters the keep and attempts to stop her father. Kuza resists and strikes her down, but when Molasar, facing away, commands him to kill her, he stops fighting and starts questioning the entity instead. He says he is not Abraham, and he will not give the life of his child to a god, because there are no gods, only man, and whatever power you have is not yours, but is given. An angry Molasar turns toward Kuza, and a beam of energy pulses from his hands, returning Kuza to his diseased state. Hermes arrives, retrieves the talisman, combines it with the staff, forming a weapon, and confronts Molasar. The weapon emits beams that interact with the keep's icons to disable Molasar. The swastika on his forehead changes again to Hebrew characters, this time the word for dead, before his body breaks down entirely, turning him back into mist and banishing him back into the innermost recesses of the keep. A great force begins to pull Hermes into the aperture from which the entity was originally freed, trapping him also within. The villagers, including Father Finescu, now freed from Molasar's maddening influence, escort Ava and Kuza away. Elsewhere, beyond the mountains, the war continues. So the thing about it changing to dead, that's how golems work in the mythology. Mm-hmm. So, which I think is very interesting, because there's a slight difference in the characters.
Yeah, I think it's like the absence of a stroke or the addition of a stroke. Yeah,
instead of truth.
Yeah.
So like these two things are so alike that one stroke can change that. So yeah, that is a further allusion to Hebrew mythology.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've made him more of a golem, but I also want the movie to end. That's an important thing. The movie should end not with the two characters at the bridge, be like, oh man, that was crazy. I wanted to cut to the ongoing war, like essentially the hope being that, like, yeah, this war has ended Europe. Not yet has it fully ended Europe, but Europe as we know it is over with, and a new power arises.
A new sort of lines are to be drawn.
Right. So a new power arises in the West, this being the U.S. The U.S. not really existing in this movie, but yeah, like just the sort of the lingering notion that the old world is dead or dying, but that the fighting continues on, and will change, and something else will come to take its place, for better or for worse.
Yeah, ushering in a new era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I love that you lean into like the sort of the larger historical play that's taking place just behind the scenes, you know, like I like how it works on both the small and the large scale. That's great.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm pleased with mine too.
Yeah,
honestly,
absolutely.
I feel like this reminds me of our vampires episode, where we're both dealing with like the metaphysical, and we both add a lot to our revisions and everything, and we just kind of freestyled on it a little bit, just trying to bring out what feels like it's at the core of this movie, which sort of loses its way a little bit.
Yeah, gosh, the stuff with Kuza, it's so dark in a way. It's interesting stuff, because I mean, it's really uncomfortable in some respects because essentially you have in my version, this is me responding to that, but I'm thinking of a figure that is kind of like a Jewish golem, but at the same time, obviously bearing the Nazi symbol. But like the choice here is for the Jews, as Kuza is representing them, is okay. We can our two choices are carry out Nazi-like behaviors ourselves, or succumb. That's it. That's it. We have nothing. We can just continue to be victimized. Like, we have lost the war, so that's over with.
Yeah.
So the place it comes down to, like, what a horrible choice that because he's a symbol for a larger group, they have to make in this construction, right? That we're just, this is where we are in our history. There's nothing left to us otherwise.
Yeah, but of course it's grim. It's terribly grim and it's tragic, but I do, something that, I don't know, brings me a little solace is like the family is reunited in the end. Like they choose, like, even if we must die, we will be together. Like, they don't abandon one another. Kuza casts off the false god. He rejects that promise of supernatural power and potentially even like the ability to keep on living and to live in a healthy body to protect his child. Like I think it's rather beautiful. Though of course you just want these characters to live and to escape.
Of course.
But you're never quite permitted to forget that, like, outside of this valley or whatever, like, the war is raging, as you say, and like how many millions of people are trapped in the same awful circumstances. So it's like, yeah, it's really dark. It's really dark, but I love that we get a little bit of a morality play here. I just really like this movie, and I like what we've done with it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we all done here, dear?
I think so.
Okay. Well, folks, which revision would you most like to see on the screen? What movie would you like to see us cover next? Let us know at thedevilsworkshoppod@gmail.com.